With President Trump in attendance, lawyers argue before the U.S. Supreme Court in a case that stands to affect millions of people born in this country. Plus, a scary scene in Gresham after a person survives getting hit by a train. Their condition this afternoon.
I think it's just another example of a desperate attempt to rig election.
Plus, local politicians firing back on President Trump's executive order aimed at restricting vote-by-mail elections, while Trump says it's about protecting elections. And the countdown is on in Florida, with about 3 hours to go before NASA's first trip around the moon in more than 50 years. Well, let's kick things off with Corey Johnson, who's tracking more snow and rainfall this afternoon. Hey, Corey.
Tim, yeah, good afternoon. We are seeing a rainy start to our afternoon. This is a live look from our Rose City camera. You can see the droplets out there on the camera, currently sitting at 48 degrees right now. Now, looking at our temperatures in the upper 40s across many spots, 47 right now in Troutdale. Looks like 45 in Happy Valley and 48 over in Hillsborough. Zooming out for you, you can see this really is a trend across much of our area. Upper 40s, low 50s, 50 right now in the Dalles, and upper 40s near the coast. We are seeing active radar, widespread showers at this time near the coast. Our Chinookins Casino camera out in Lincoln City, 51 degrees currently. As we get throughout the rest of the day, notice those showers do spread out. We see more wind gusts, especially near the coast is what we're expecting. We also have snow building up in the Cascades, but we'll talk more about that coming up.
All right. Thanks a lot, Corey. New at noon, Supreme Court justices are casting doubt on President Trump's restrictions on birthright citizenship. That's according to NBC News. Trump was in the courtroom as the panel of conservative and liberal justices questioned the constitutionality of his executive order, declaring that children born to parents who are in the U.S. legally or temporarily are not American citizens. It was the first time a sitting president has been in the courtroom for a Supreme Court hearing. It's a case with the potential to upend what has widely been considered settled law since the 19th century. There's no word when the justices will issue their ruling. But today, Oregon's Attorney General Dan Rayfield released a statement saying in part, quote, the president does not get to rewrite Constitution by executive order. We are confident that the court will agree. Well, tonight, President Trump will address the nation about the war in Iran. NBC's Alice Barr has more on when the president expects the war to end as gas and diesel prices across the country continue to soar.
To have people pouring into
President Trump preparing for a rare primetime address to the nation tonight as he signals the war with Iran may be nearing an end.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3, we're hitting them very hard.
The president now saying that while his administration is negotiating with new regime officials he considers more rational, Iran doesn't need to make a deal to end the fighting because of the destruction of its capabilities. Like this new video U.S. Central Command says shows American forces striking underground targets in Iran.
If they come to the table, that'll be good. But it doesn't matter whether they come or not. We've set them back. It'll take 15 to 20 years for them to rebuild what we've done to them.
The push toward the finish line comes as U.S. gas prices crossed $4 a gallon on average for the first time in nearly 4 years. Drivers feeling the pain from Chicago.
This is the highest, that I've seen in a very, very long time, if not ever.
To New York.
This person right now is insane.
To Washington, D.C.
Man, I just started checking my pockets. Come up with that. Can't afford it.
All I have to do is leave Iran, and we'll be doing that very soon, and they'll become tumbling down.
Stocks surged Tuesday on hopes the war will end soon and that it won't depend on reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
What happens in the Strait, we're not going to have anything to do with, because these countries, China will go up and they'll fuel up their beautiful ships and they'll leave and they'll take care of themselves.
Though it's hard to see energy prices falling if that critical route stays clogged. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, it's time for some other national headlines this afternoon. And Here's a live look now from Florida's Kennedy Space Center, where the Artemis II mission is set to lift off at 3:24 our time this afternoon. This mission will take humans farther from Earth than ever before. It will travel 4,000 to 6,000 miles beyond the moon. The crew will be in space for about 10 days before returning to Earth. And we're previewing the entire mission coming up in just about 6 minutes from now. Today, the University of Oregon is holding an online forum. It's to address the recent nutritional guidelines from Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and what they mean for public health. The American Heart Association is pushing back after Kennedy rolled out guidance encouraging Americans to eat more protein and full-fat dairy while cutting back on ultra-processed foods and added sugars. While both sides agree on cutting ultra-processed foods and added sugars, the AHA disagrees with the new guidance on fats and protein sources. It recommends Americans eat less meat and instead opt for plant-based proteins. They added that the recent data suggests eating plant-based proteins, lean meats, and fish are better for heart health than red meat. They also suggest we get fewer than 10% of our calories from saturated fat. Oregon leaders are pushing back against a new executive order from President Trump targeting vote by mail. The order could create a national list of eligible voters and restrict who can receive mailed ballots. State officials say that could interfere with how Oregon runs elections, a system the state has used successfully for decades. Leaders argue the order raises constitutional concerns since states, not the federal government, control how elections are run. As Oregon leaders push back, the president says the order is about protecting elections.
There is no role for the federal government here. The heartbeat of our democracy is the ability of Oregonians and Americans to hold politicians and government accountable.
We want to have honest voting in our country, because if you don't have honest voting, you can't have really a nation.
Now, we should note there is zero evidence of widespread election fraud, whether it's mail-in ballots or in-person voting. And Oregon's Attorney General has already signaled potential legal action, saying the state would challenge the order in court if needed. Here locally, over in Gresham, police say a person only suffered minor injuries after being hit by a train this morning. This is video from our crew that you were at the scene. You see the victim was able to walk to the ambulance there before being taken to the hospital. And meanwhile, investigators are working to figure out what led up to a deadly motorcycle crash in Northeast Portland. It happened just before 1 o'clock this morning. Portland police say it happened between a motorcycle and a vehicle at the intersection of Northeast Sandy Boulevard and 141st Drive. Police say the motorcyclist was taken to the hospital where they later died. No word on if the driver of the other vehicle was injured, but officers say they did stay at the scene.
It's heartbreaking to know that we're going through this.
After more than a month without pay, TSA officers are finally getting money in their bank accounts. Although some of them are telling us it's not actually the full amount and there's still no word on future checks. KGW's Blair Beth spoke with the union representing more than 1,000 workers, including those working at PDX and SeaTac.
There was a mix-up when they were doing not at local levels, but at headquarters, the National Finance Center. And they're working to correct those mistakes to get people the rest of the money that they're owed.
What do you think about this? I mean, finally they're getting paid, but they're not getting the money that they're owed for working, some 45 days without pay.
It's hard. It's hard enough because they combine all of it together and they tax it like at the higher rate. So people are already bringing home less money than they were expecting.
President Trump's executive action covers back pay, but with Congress now on spring break, it's unclear if future checks are coming. Wolf tells us union members are scared to spend any of that back pay they receive because of the uncertainty of it all.